adjust this thing. Well, hello. I see we've got one person in the audience, which is honestly one more than I expected to show up. And there they went. All right. Hello. I see we've got one person here in the audience. Honestly, that's one more than I thought would show up, but how you doing? Thanks for being here. Feel free to drop a line in the chat. I've never done this before, but I thought it would be a fun way to just kind of talk to some people, maybe share some of the same passions as me. We've got a couple more people. Interesting. I was pretty new to this. I've never actually hosted a live chat before on the YouTube. In fact, I think I've only even attended one or two. So definitely kind of a new experience for me. I'm not expecting anything out of this other than just maybe a chance to interact with other people who share the same interests about old cars. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Hi, how you doing? We've got just a few people here in today and doing a live chat about old cars for casuals, as we call it. Feel free to drop a line in the chat. Love to hear your questions or hear where you're coming from. Do you own any old cars? Do you like old cars? Do you have any ambitions for a particular car? Hello, got a couple more people joining here. How you doing? I'm Chris. This is the channel. I've never done a live stream before, so this is a new thing for me. But just want to see how things are going with you. Feel free to drop me any questions or just something to say in the chat. Like if you've got an old car, tell me all about it. For those who have been watching the channel, I have 3 classic cars, which is kind of astonishing even to me to have that many. I've got the 69 Mustang that I've had for 26 going on 27 years now. That was kind of my original classic car that I just always wanted a 69 Mustang. Just thought they were the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And I remember saying, hey, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to get one of those one day. And I did. And here it is 26 years later. I've still got it. I don't intend to ever get rid of it. I've said the only reason I would ever get rid of my 69 Mustang would be if I could get another 69 Mustang. like if I could get a Mach 1 or a Boss or something like that. But honestly, don't really plan to do that. Hello to those of you just joining. We got here on Old Car Talk for Casuals. I like to say so many of the YouTube channels, which I follow a lot of them and enjoy them with old cars. They're by mechanics, people who really have a lot of expertise to work on the cars. Which, if you've been watching the channel, I don't. I'm not a mechanic. I've got a few basic things I can do, but I enjoy just playing around with them. And again, please feel free to drop a question or comment in the chat. Honestly, I'd love to hear from you, see what you guys are up to. Do you own a classic car? Do you have ambitions to own a classic car? Do you have a dream classic car? Feel free to put it in the chat there, and I'd love to respond to it. But yeah, I've had the 69 Mustang for, gosh, I bought it in August of 99. So yeah, so this will be 26 years. No, excuse me, August of 98. So this will be 27 years. And then I got the Cadillac about 9 years ago, and been enjoying that car, even as it's been kind of my problem child car, if you've been watching any of the videos. And then the truck, the 1951 Ford F1, I just got that I guess going on 2.5 years ago now. And the story behind that was, for those who know the channel, the story with the saga with the Cadillac is it's just been in and out of shops for most of the first 7 or 8 years that I had it. And it had several times where it was just gone for a long time. I had one time where it was in the shop for 7 months. I thought that was going to be the all-time record. But we beat it with the transmission job on the Cadillac, which, if people have seen that video, the 500 days video, it was in the shop for the transmission for 500 days. It was actually 503 to be exact. And so obviously it was just a long time where I couldn't do anything with the car. I couldn't drive it. I couldn't fiddle with it, do any of the little bits of painting or anything that I wanted to do with the car. And that was just so frustrating to me. And it was gone so long that I found myself, just noodling around, looking at Facebook Marketplace or car ads online, looking at things. I'd always loved the first generation of the F Series Ford trucks. So I was looking at those, saw a few ads. Actually got fairly close to buying 1 or 2 cars. There was an F2 in Iowa that I was talking to the guy with. I got pretty close with him, and I think I got cold feet, was really what happened. And then finally this one came along, and it was a Texas car, and I got it from a gentleman in Texas. I'm still not exactly sure on the progeny of the Ford truck. The guy I bought it from, the gentleman who had owned it, was a farmer, and he'd had it for a long time and sold it to this other gentleman because they did business together in Texas. And he decided that he would basically buy it to sell it. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that the farmer who had my truck, his father was the original owner. So depending on how you want to count it, I'm either the 3rd or the 4th owner of the F-150, or excuse me, the F1 truck, which is pretty astonishing. So I see some people are there. Please leave a chat, go to the chat, ask a question, make a comment. I would love to hear from you. That was kind of really the real reason I wanted to try and do a live stream, was to really just interact with other people who have similar love for the old cars. So feel free to drop a chat in there. Anybody got anything to say? I know I'm going to get dry mouth quickly as this goes on. Always been an old car guy. I guess just because, I was, the golden age of American cars, which for me was really kind of like the post World War II era till probably, 73. That's kind of the big line that most people that consider themselves old car nuts Marcus 73 with the oil crisis and things, like pretty much all the manufacturers just kind of shut down what they were doing, the big old rolling Detroit steel cars, and overnight switch to, we're going to make smaller cars. We got to make lighter cars, got to get that gas mileage better. I'm old enough that those cars from, like the 60s, maybe even a few from the 50s were still toddling around when I was a boy, and like on the Mustang. So by the time I was about, 10 years old, 11 years old, those 69 Mustangs were getting to be old cars. They were still on the road, they were still being driven, but they were getting to be old cars because, before the classic car collecting days, it was pretty rare that people kept a car for more than 10 or 12 years. But yeah, I remember I was riding in the car. It was probably like our 76 Dodge Aspen station wagon. Maybe it was a 78, I can't remember. But we were driving along on the highway and I saw a 69 Mustang Fastback going by. And I said to my dad, I said, oh, I just love those. I said, I'm going to get one of those one day. And he kind of laughed and said, well, by the time you're going to be old enough and have money enough to buy a car of your own, those are going to be, long gone. But lo and behold, I did, in fact, ended up buying one when I was, 28 years old. And it's funny, my dad said to me, when I finally bought the car, he's like, he confessed to me that he had an old car love of his own, that he always wanted to get. He always wanted to get I believe it was a 56 Ford Thunderbird, because that was around the time that he was mustering out of the Air Force, and he had, money in his pocket from his duties, and he wanted to get a 56 Ford Thunderbird. That was the year that they had the spare tire like in a metal bubble on the back of the car. If anybody remembers those, yeah, those were cool. But he always wanted to get a 56 Thunderbird, and I kind of had in the back of my mind, if I ever became successful and made money, that I would go get a 56 Thunderbird and present it to him on his birthday or Father's Day or something like that. Never came to be, but yeah, always gotta have your dreams. Like I said, if you have a dream car that you've always wanted to have, please put something about it in the chat. I would love to hear from y'all, of what your dream car is. I would say the 69 Mustang was my dream car. It's the car I always wanted. And then I got it. And then I kind of, as time went on, thought about other dream cars that I always wanted. And I kind of, if you're an old car nut, you kind of start mentally building a list. Oh, I'd love to have this, that, thinking that it's never going to happen. But you really just would like to, you got to have your daydreams, don't you? But yeah, so the 59 Cadillac was the next one on my list. And I ended up buying actually that from a fairly local guy here, a dealer who buys 50s Cadillacs, and that's kind of like his side gig. So that's been that car. And then the F1, the 51 Ford F1, that was, always loved those trucks. Just love that era. And I had a truck, just like a regular old truck. I think it was a 2000 Ford F-150. Just a pretty standard, long bed truck that I used quite a bit for hauling and things when I was right before and right after I got married. But then the kids came along, and we started using it less and less, and it kind of just became this thing that was parked out front. And it seemed like sometimes the only time I would move it would be to move it into the curb to get it out so it doesn't get plowed in by the snow plows. That was the point at which I finally decided that, well, when I bought the Cadillac, I decided it was time to let the truck go. But almost as soon as I did, I was missing that truck, missing having a truck, being able to haul stuff, even though I, have that need maybe like 3 or 4 times a year. it's just good to have a truck. And so when I was thinking about, well, maybe I'll get another truck to replace the one I got rid of, I said, well, um, a modern truck, why don't I get an antique truck like I've always wanted? So you know how it is. Once again, for those of you who just joined, feel free to put something in the chat, comment, question, either about my cars or comment about your own car love. But yeah, the journey with the F1, it's funny. It's been so much faster than with the Cadillac. The Cadillac has been so slow. It'll go into the shop. It'll be gone for a month, 2 months. Things just take so long. Parts are so hard to get for it because they just didn't make a lot of those. And then the speed which I was able to do things with the truck has been so much faster. At least it was the first year I had it, year plus. And then I had the thing where I guess it was about this time last year, maybe it was December, where the engine just started, I was getting like blow by. I got some knocking at one point, and it kind of became clear there that the engine had seen its day. So that was a little unexpected, and I was not hoping to have to do a engine rebuild on the truck, I should say, after having it for just a year and change. But that's the way it is with the old cars. It's not transportation. It's illumination. It's having fun, having a journey, having an adventure. So then that truck was in the shop it wasn't too long. I guess it was about 3 months getting the engine rebuilt. And I think we also put in a new radiator. And then not too long after that, we decided it was time to go ahead and put in a new wiring harness because it had all original wiring harness. The engine, that 239 flathead V8, kind of a legendary Ford engine, which they had in there. Gosh, I want to say they had those in their all sorts of different vehicles, trucks, cars. I want to say they had the flathead from like the late 20s until the mid 50s, something like that. Yeah, those flatheads, kind of just famous engines. But so when we pulled the engine, they determined that it had never been rebuilt. And the way they were certain about that was it still had one of the original spark plugs in it, which I guess had gotten kind of frozen into the head, and had to be drilled out eventually. But yeah, so that's how they were able to identify that that engine had never been rebuilt. So that means that engine made it 73 years on its own power. And that's pretty impressive. I got to say, that's pretty impressive for any engine to last that long. I mean, certainly when they were spitting them out the Ford production line, no one would have said this engine's still going to be going 73 years from now. But it made it. And that's pretty impressive. So hopefully it will last another 73 years. Certainly it's going to outlast me. Yeah. So things going on with the truck is probably the next thing I'm looking to do on that is the bed. You probably saw I just really started on it. Still looking to get out there and finish welding up those cross braces. The problem now is it is so freaking cold here. It is, let's see, it is currently 21 degrees here in Indiana. It was 13 this morning. I think it's going to be about that cold this morning, and we're just in for our cold streak. So I don't really have a warm place to work on it. Probably I'll put something about that in the next video, as I did get a couple of outdoor heater type things to try and warm up that space. It's hard to get that garage. I mean, I'm not expecting to get to 70 degrees, but I was like, can I get it to like 50 degrees in there so it's just tolerable to be in there? I don't know. I may give that in the next. That'll probably be my next video. Is trying to do some work with finish that welding. I still got. I think I'm missing one of the cross braces for the truck bed. It's hard to tell just from like looking at old diagrams and stuff. Um, but I think the piece that I have that I thought went up towards the cab, if people saw that one video where I kind of like laid them out where I thought they were supposed to go, I think that's actually supposed to go towards the back bumper that like lays over the back part of the wood and makes like a, it's L shaped and kind of makes like a, seals it there to the lid, the, but, so yeah, I think I'm missing the piece that goes across towards the cab. So you got a couple new people who've just joined. Thanks for coming in there. Feel free to drop a comment in the chat. I would love to hear from you. Questions or comments, even better, about your own experiences with old cars. But yeah, so as I say, I'm not really a mechanic. I'm not really a mechanic. I'm not any kind of a mechanic. I mean, I can do really, really basic things, change the oil on a car, pull the spark plugs, do all the fluids, flush a radiator, that kind of stuff. I mean, really, really basic stuff. But I can't do other things. So, one of the things I'm looking to do is to increase my skill level. So my goal is to try and do the truck bed, the wood bed, all by myself. But we'll see. I expect I'll probably get to a certain point and I'll just get stuck, and I'll have to take it to somebody. Oh, hey, we do have a couple of comments here. Let's see. This is from Craig. Hope I'm pronouncing your name right. McCautry. Hey, Chris, my all-time favorite is a 59 or 56 Caddy two-door. I had two 59 Cads as wedding cars. I've wanted one since seeing them at a car show when I was about 16. I'm 54 now, so maybe when I retire, I'll treat myself. Well, do so, sir. Absolutely, you should do that. It's funny. So we're about the same age, and it's funny how those experiences stick with you. You see a car when you're a kid or a young person, and man, it just gets seared into your brain, and you're just like, oh, man, I just love that so much. The 56 Cads are nice. I've always loved the 59s just because of obviously those iconic, the iconic rear section with the bullet taillights and the big fins. It's just one of the most identifiable designs of any car. I mean, like I like to say, anybody that has any kind of passing interest in old cars can probably just see the silhouette of a 59 Cadillac and they can identify it. They're just so recognizable and so iconic. And yeah, the 56s are nice too, the mid 50s. I also like the 49 to 50 Cadillacs with all that chrome on the front with those big Dagmires, those big look like pointy teeth sticking out of the grill. Those are fantastic. That's another dream car of mine, would be a 49 or 50 Cadillac, the fastback. Have you ever seen those torpedo shaped body that was so popular with in that era, the torpedo cars? Let's see if I can bring this up here and share my screen. That's not decided not to do it so well. But yeah, I love those that whole era of cars. Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen real quick. Yeah, those. Yeah, I love those. Love those. I've only ever seen, gosh, just a handful in the flesh myself. But yeah, those I would love to have one of those, but I hate to say it, based on my experience with the 59 Cadillac, it's like the difference between doing like a popular, easy classic car where there's tons of them. There's a whole system of reproduction parts that you can get for them, like the Mustangs. You can almost literally build a classic Mustang from the ground up just using reproduction parts. Things are a lot harder to get for the old Caddies just because they didn't make a lot of them. I'm like in a year when they were making, they may have made, I think in the 69 Mustangs, I think they made about 400,000 of them, something like that. And the same year, like the 59 Cadillac, I think they only made like 15,000 of them. So there's just not that many of them around. There's just not that many. And so the people aren't making the reproduction parts for them. So like things that I would do on the Mustang or things that I would do on the truck where it's pretty easy to just find parts for it. So much harder with the Cadillac. Like I remember one of the very first things we had to do was the instrument panel, which kind of burned out, like nothing was working. The instrument cluster with all that stuff. So one of the first things we had to do was pull the instrument cluster, and like you can't buy a new instrument cluster. You can't buy a reproduction instrument cluster. All you can do is find a specialty shop. It's probably like 3 states away, and you ship it off to them, and you wait 2 months, and they rebuild it and send it back to you. That's what you do with the Cadillacs. I had to do the same thing with the the wiper motor. Those old vacuum tube wiper motors. Had to send it away and have it rebuilt. Whereas it's like I could just dial up and get something like that for the Cadillac and stuff. Yeah, I like Mopars. I like GM. I am not a snob when it comes to classic American cars. I like everything. I'm probably a bit more of a Ford guy than anything else, but yeah, definitely not snobbery. No snobbery here. It's funny. You know, I've had a couple times where it's like, I'll be out in my Cadillac just cruising around, and I'll have like a, young dude in another Mustang, probably like a modern Mustang, and he'll pull up next to you, revving his engine, and he wants to go and like this. And I always roll down my window. I always say the same thing. Hey, bud, save it for the Chevys. We're in the Mustang club. We don't need that. But I feel the same way about the Chevys. I guess it's one of those things where it's like I tend to appreciate the Chevys and the Mopars, but I don't have that personal desire to buy one or own one myself. It's like when I think about most of my dream cars that I've always wanted. Most of them have been Fords. The 59 Cadillac was one. Always wanted one of those. I just mentioned about a 49 or 50 Cadillac with the torpedo body. Those are awesome. The second generation of Corvettes, I love those. Love those. Those are so amazing. I'll tell you what though. The funny thing is, I just said I'm not a snob, but I do not have a lot of affection. I'll have an affection for a particular era of car, like that make, that model, that era, and then, but sometimes not anything other than that or anything since. Like the Corvettes is a great example. Love the first generation Corvettes, so amazing. Second generation Corvette, absolutely my favorite. That body style, one of my favorite of the. Really of anything, particularly again, I love that torpedo body, the fastback body. I don't like the removable hard top on the Corvettes. So I love the C1s, I love the C2s, and that's it. I haven't really liked a Corvette since, since the C3s. I think those debuted in 67 or 68. I call them the banana Corvettes, with those kind of big swoopy fenders in the front and rear. Don't care for them and haven't liked any Corvettes ever since. Sorry. I'm kind of the same way with the Cadillacs. I like all the 30s, 40s Cadillacs. Those are great. That 47 to 52 is kind of my second favorite era of the Cadillacs after the 59s. And all through the 50s, those are cool too. And I love the 59s. And the 60s look a lot like the 59s, but the fins are so much different. They're much more sedate and honestly boring. Which is why I remember, like you look at the collectible value of a 59 Cadillac versus a 60 Cadillac. The 59s are worth so much more because people like those fins. And they just big thing. But starting probably about 61 cents. Yeah, not really a big fan of the Cadillacs. I mean, I like them okay. The 60s into the early 70s when they got big old land yachts, just huge. I had a friend who had one. I mean, they're okay, but I don't really care for them. And then since then, they kind of just, it's weird. I mean, 59 Cadillac, that was the era where, like, if you were a successful businessman from age like 28 to 60, you wanted to own a Cadillac. Like that was what to have status and display success, you wanted a Cadillac. And somewhere along the line, it kind of became an old people car. Sorry to say. I mean, I'm sure the modern Cadillacs, they would not argue with that, or they would argue with that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Cadillacs ever since. The Mustangs have kind of gone up and down. The 69s was my absolute favorite, again with that big big torpedo body, the fastback style. The 71 to 73 Mustangs were cool. My uncle had one of those when I was a kid, and I really enjoyed that. Enjoyed his car. The Mustang twos, of course, I think most people hate them. I know I do. And then ever since the Fox body Mustangs, those are pretty good. And then the different eras since, I've always liked them on some level, not to the point of I want to go get one. They had that one build, I can't remember, it was a few years ago now, where they were really trying to consciously emulate a 67 fastback look on the Mustangs. Those are cool, but I guess that's where I'm in on the different kind of cars and eras is, I can like something. There's that part where it's like, I like something, but I don't feel that deep love, like, ooh, I want to get it. I really want to get one of those. Craig or anybody else is still there, want to drop a line in the chat with their questions. Like, tell me what your favorite car is or was. I'll tell you some of my I still have a list of dream cars, and it's funny, it actually gets longer as I get older, and even as I've now had several of my dream cars, I still have some others that I'd like to get. And I tend to be like really specific. It's not like, this one versus, I would love to get a 67 Ford Galaxy 500, and specifically a 67, not a 68, not a 66, because they look quite different from each other. The 67s had that really specific shark nose prow, kind of like the 69 Mustang. Honestly, that's probably why I like it. They had like the big 390 plant in those. Those were cool. I saw one about a year and a half ago because I dink around in like Facebook Marketplace and places like that all the time. Just like to like keep track of what's selling and what it's selling for, and you have your daydreams. Gosh, someone was selling a 67 Ford Galaxy 500 with the 390, and it was the fastback style. It was kind of like a maroon. It looked to be original paint or original-ish paint, good shape. You couldn't see any rust on it. Paint was definitely faded, kind of getting a bit of a patina to it. And gosh, he was selling for what I thought was a ridiculously low price. I want to say it was like $6,800 he was asking for it. Yeah, that's the sort of thing where it's like, if I had the wherewithal and the garage space to add more cars, yeah, I might have jumped on that. It's funny, like going on Facebook Marketplace, you'll see things pop up for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and again, I'm no expert, but just from exploration and observation, I can sit there and say like that car is not going to last long at that price. Like someone will snap that up within 24 or 48 hours. And sure enough, it's almost always gone from the Facebook Marketplace listings, just because I don't know. Most people that are selling the cars know, if anything, they tend to inflate the price that they think it's worth. Every now and then you get someone that just they don't know what they have, and they're selling it just to kind of get rid of it, or is their uncle's car, or their dad's car. I hate to say it in some of those situations where it's like someone passes along and then they're just trying to clear things out and they don't know what they've got. And I see things will go for sale. I'm like, oop, yep, that someone is going to jump on that real fast. Let's see, other dream cars of mine. So the 67 Ford Galaxy. I've also have a hankering for the Ford Super Deluxes. The late 30s and early 40s are cool, but I particularly like the last era of that, which I believe was 46 to 48. Again, you probably see a theme here. I love that torpedo style. So that they don't call it a fastback, but whatever it is. Yeah, those are cool. And I've looked at some of those. Never, gotten so far as like making an offer on anything like that, but yeah, those Ford Galaxies, those are really cool. Let's see if I can bring up a picture of that. Yeah, and that also has the 239. Most of those have the 239 flathead in them, so it's practically the exact same image. Yeah. Let's see. There's a Super Deluxe. Those are cool. Those are really cool. Again, that torpedo style. When you have it like in the coupe, where then the roof line just swoops on down, doesn't do it for me. And it's the same thing with the. If anyone knows the '59 Cadillacs, most of them came in the sloped roof line. But there are some that I don't know what the production breakdown was, but they call them the flat tops, where instead of having that curved line, it juts out flat, and there's actually like a part that sticks out horizontally over the back rear window. And people seem to really like those. Like the people that like those really like those. I hate them. I hate them. They look terrible to me. Like the way it breaks up the flow of the roof line to me. Oh gosh, it just I can't imagine. To me, it's just like you've absolutely ruined it. Let's see if we can take a look at one of those. Yeah. Ugh. Ugh. Oh my God. I mean, it's funny. I mean, you're taking one of the most beautiful, iconic car designs ever, and then it's like someone took like a hatchet to it and just hacked it. Not to mention it's yellow. I can't stand yellow cars. I don't like the color yellow in general, but yeah, that's that ugliness in my opinion. Oof. Oh, yeah. Let's see. So we mentioned the Super Deluxe, the Ford Galaxy. I would also love to someday have a highboy roadster. So that era of the Model A and B, I believe it was. I think it segued to the Model B in 32 through 34. And then people would, just chop up, take off the fenders, take off the running boards, strip it down, put a big V8 in it, or again, you see a lot of them with those flatheads, and then those are cool. And it's funny. The problem with those is I don't know. People have really turned them into like show cars, and I don't know. I kind of almost like those more a little bit grungy. Same thing with the trucks. It's funny with the trucks. part of the problems with the 48 through 52 Ford trucks is so many guys are hot rodding those, so they're buying them up, they're stripping them down. A lot of times they're taking it off the chassis and they put it on like a Ford Mustang chassis or something like that, like a Fox body Mustang chassis, and they drop it to the ground, low rider style, chop the roof. Yeah, not to be snobby, but I tend to like the old cars for being the old cars. I'm like, keep them the way they were. And I'm not a big fan of trucks that are shiny and pretty. To me, a truck should be a truck. It should be a little beat up, a little rust on it. The paint's wearing thin in spots. That's why I like my car so much, is it's almost completely patina on the outside. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But that's the thing, is a lot of people who have the cars, they want to resto mod them. The old LS swap. That's the big thing now, is everyone wants to put an LS V8 in them. I'm like, man, just if you have a classic V8 in it, just keep the classic V8 in it and rebuild it. I guess it's just one of those things, because there's so many of the LSs out there that it's just an easy swap for a V8 with lots of power. It's kind of like the Chevy 350. You see so many Chevy 350s stuck in classic cars of that era, really of any era, just because there was just millions and millions of them out there, and so it was just cheap, easy V8 power. We'll do Highboy here. So to me, this is a little too pretty. I don't like it like this. I would like it a little more rat roddy. Let's see if I can find something that's a little more rat rod to look at it. Let me see about this one here. But again, then you get into the rat rod. Guys tend to really like lower them. I don't like the low look. Let's take a look at this one here. And see, to me, that's cool. I'm not sure how I feel about the soft roof on it. If I had that soft roof, it looks like it's a snap-on. So yeah, I would probably just keep that snapped off most of the time. And to me, I love this. It's got the patina exterior. It's a Highboy, so they haven't lowered it to the ground. It looks like it's got just from what I'm seeing, it looks like a flathead. They put some big carbs on, a big carb on with that. That to me is cool. That is cool as hell. I would love to have that car or something very much like it. That is rip there. All right. Well, I'm not sure, Craig, if you're the only one that's still here. It looks like we've got just one person on with me. So I think we're probably going to go ahead and wrap it there. It's about at the 45-minute mark. Didn't have a huge audience, but I wasn't really expecting it to, considering it's the first time I've ever done this. I'm not really I don't have huge numbers on YouTube, which is fine. I'm just here to share my love with old cars and a few other nerdly things that I do, and really enjoy interacting with the community. I watch a ton of YouTubes to the point where I almost don't really watch much TV anymore, other than maybe like some sports. So I think we actually have the Pacers game on right now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go hit that. If anybody else has a last minute question or comment they want to stick in the chat, feel free. But yeah, just cruising along with my 3 cars. People probably know that I do currently have the Cadillac listed for sale. It's kind of a soft sale. It's like testing the market. Everything that I've heard from different people who are more expert in the classic car biz than I am, say the market is pretty soft right now. So if you are a lover of classic cars who doesn't have one and been wanting to get one for a long time, now's a good time. The prices are really kind of down right now. The activity is down, especially up north for the winter. But that's the time where you can find some really good deals. I'm still astonished at sometimes I'll go on Facebook Marketplace and some of the things on there. and it'll be like a less collectible car, a less rare car, a less desired car, like and I'm not knocking them, but like a '50s DeSoto or a Chrysler. I mean, like nice shape, like obviously restored at some point, or a very very nice survivor, and these will be selling for like $5,000 to $6,000. And I'm just blown away. I'm like, I can't believe that beautiful piece of machinery is available for that kind of price. Um, who knows, if I was a younger man and just getting into the classic car game now, like that's the point where like I feel like I could have an entry into having a classic car without a lot of huge money investment and be able to just drive it around and enjoy it. And keep these cars alive and keep them on the road. That's my other thing is I'm a driver. All my cars are a driver. I don't know how rich I would have to be that I would buy some immaculate show car that I would never drive, that like I would like trailer to shows and stuff like that. That's just not what it's about for me. These cars are meant to be driven. They're meant to be on the road because, I mean, if you go to a car show and you see 50 old cars lined up, it's cool, it's fun, it's awesome. But I know for me, the best experience I have is seeing them out on the road. Like you're driving around and you see somebody going along in like an old Packard or something like that. That is just the coolest feeling. And I'll tell you what, as when I'm driving my cars, I'm out and I see people, they're pointing, they're honking their horn, they're giving me thumbs up, and I just know that I made their day. Because I've got that car out there and I'm driving it and it's living and it's eating up the miles on the road as they should, because that's where cars belong. They belong on the road. So I think on that end, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this live stream now. For those of you who did join me, I appreciate it. Have a great night. I'll see about maybe doing another one of these again sometimes. It's fun. And hopefully we'll eventually build up enough of an audience for it. Have a great night and keep on rolling.